I'm so honored today to join our NDP leader, Avi Lewis, in solidarity with Chief Sherry Ackabee, along with Chrissy Isaacs, Deputy Chief Bear Kopanas, Elder Mariah Swain, Clayton Cameron, spokesperson for Wasimung, and all the others from Grassy Narrows today. But I'd like to begin by calling up Mariah Swain to say an opening prayer.
Pujo, cause concept nesi conditionicals, bijundo them subsquasekang dunji. I just want to thank the Creator for bringing everybody to our destination in a safe way, but also to have all the pictures of our loved ones here that have passed on. This is my 11-year-old granddaughter. She was only 11 when she took her own life. And we're here to honor our young ones, our youth, the people of Subsquasekong Grassy Narrows. But I also want to thank the creation around us, the sky, the trees, the water, and I got soaked coming here, but that's okay. The rain is actually good. I was thinking about it, cleansing. It's cleansing. So, but I want to thank our people for coming here, and may everybody get home safely, and
So normally in these occasions, the leader speaks first, but when I was speaking to my leader yesterday, he asked me to speak first. This has been an issue that he has been involved in for a long time, and he said to me, Leah, I know in your tradition, women are water carriers. You are the ones responsible for protecting the water, and so I want you to speak first today. And I was very deeply touched by that, because I take that responsibility very seriously, especially right now with the announcement of a new water legislation that does not recognize the right to clean and safe drinking water as a human right. And I'm honored to join all of the leaders and people of Grassy Narrows today who have, for decades, been sounding alarm about the mercury poisoning that has occurred in the community. And as we look behind us, all the photos of loved ones that have been lost, children that have been born with mercury poisoning because of a willful failure by governments to act. And I'm here with them today calling on the federal government to account for the Prime Minister's disrespect and the Liberals' total failure to adequately address the ongoing mercury poisoning emergency in their community. This crisis has been ongoing for over 60 years. To this day, in fact, more than 90% of Grassy Narrows First Nations members show signs of mercury poisoning, exhibiting symptoms like tremors, insomnia, memory loss, neuromuscular effects, headaches, and cognitive motor dysfunction. And because of this mercury crisis, it's also resulted in a mental health crisis that has arisen through the nation, which scientists have linked directly to mercury toxicity. And while the Prime Minister should be addressing calls from Grassy Narrows leadership and membership to assist with their ongoing mercury crisis, the Liberal government has been nowhere to be found. And I was very troubled, and I felt deeply hurt for Chrissy Isaac, who is with us today suffering from mercury poisoning, that while she was calling in protest for attention to the health plight she deals with every day, the Prime Minister Carney laughed and stated, "I can outlast her." Now, I can understand that perhaps the Prime Minister was not aware of what she was saying. However, when he was later approached to apologize, he refused to apologize not only to Chrissy, but the whole nation of Grassy Narrows. I echo the calls of Grassy Narrows that the Prime Minister owes them an official apology for this blatantly disrespectful, and I would add racist, disrespectful behavior. Just as important, I stand in solidarity with the leadership and people of Grassy Narrows today to let the Prime Minister and the Liberal government know it's time for them to live up to their legal obligations and duty of care under the Constitution and UNDRIP to ensure that Grassy Narrows has access to safe, clean drinking water, along with the supports they need to live in dignity in spite of the mercury poisoning that has taken countless lives in their nations. And unfortunately, this week I don't feel very hopeful. With the tabling of the Liberals' Bill C-37, the First Nations Clean Water Act, on Tuesday. After stalling until the very last week of sitting, it seems unlikely that clean, safe drinking water will be a priority of the Liberal government. I was deeply troubled to read that the Liberal government has removed the human right to safe, clean drinking water from the previous version of the bill. And I would like to remind the Minister and the Prime Minister that upholding the right to clean, safe drinking water is not an option. It is protected under international law. The right to clean, safe drinking water has been guaranteed in international law, including Article 25 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, an article in the mention of many articles in the Declaration that were included in the bill that was conveniently, or might I add, purposefully left out of the bill, the only actual article that deals with water. Moreover, the bill limits its definition of First Nations lands to reserve lands under Section 9124 of the B&A Act, failing to uphold the rights of Indigenous people that extend beyond reserve boundaries in traditional territories. And as you will hear today, it's because of a mill that continues to operate outside of Grassy Narrows that any hope of realizing clean drinking water, because their source water continues to be contaminated by this mill, is only a pipe dream. I want to also assure First Nations across the country that I, along with our leader, Avi Lewis, and the NDP, will stand in solidarity with all First Nations and countless non-Indigenous people across the country who are ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with Grassy Narrows and First Nations to ensure the creation of a water bill that is fully and immediately realizes the right to safe, clean drinking water as a human right on First Nations reserves and anywhere else in Canada. It is not okay that even the smallest children that you see in these photos, have never had a life where they've experienced a home with clean drinking water. And I'm proud to stand alongside the NDP and our leader, Avi Lewis, who will unapologetically, without political or economic interest, fight for clean water for everybody in this country, including for the people of Grassy Narrows and First Nations across the country. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our leader, Avi Lewis. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Gazan, and thank you for everyone for coming all this way today. Je suis fier de me tenir aujourd'hui aux côtés de ma collègue Leah Gazan en signe de solidarité avec tous les gens de Grassy Narrows aujourd'hui ici. Ils ont fait un si long voyage pour se joindre à nous aujourd'hui. Depuis plus de 60 ans, Grassy Narrows est confronté à une crise d'empoisonnement au mercure due à la pollution causée par l'usine chimique de Dryden. Cela fait des décennies que les membres de Grassy Narrows demandent la justice et des solutions concrètes. For over 60 years, Grassy Narrows has been dealing with a crisis of mercury poisoning due to pollution by the Dryden chemical factory, which dumped close to 9,000 kilograms of toxic mercury into the English Wabigoon River system decades ago. To this day, the contamination continues to leak, jeopardizing the health and well-being of people in their nation, including children. Grassy Narrows is a name and a struggle that has echoed in my political soul since my own childhood. When I was a kid growing up in Scarborough in the early 1970s, I heard a lot about Grassy Narrows, and that's because my father, Stephen Lewis, the leader of the Ontario NDP at the time, was battling the government of the day to respond to the mercury emergency. It was the greatest disappointment of my dad's political life that he was unable to move the Conservative government of the day to respond with basic human decency to the poisoning of people and land in Grassy. And he carried that burning injustice to his grave. 8 years ago, the Ontario government promised to start cleaning up the mercury in a matter of weeks. That work has not yet begun. Instead, the province has allowed a massive surge of mining claims in the territory, which bring new threats of contamination to Grassy Narrows. And so children my own son's age are forced to eat fish and be exposed to water that has left many, many children with mercury poisoning. This has been going on for 60 years. And the news continues to get worse. As you heard from MP Gazan, just this week, the Liberals tabled Bill C-37, a so-called Clean Water Act for Indigenous communities. The bill removes language making clear that clean and safe drinking water is a human right, a right guaranteed under international law, including the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which is enshrined in Canadian law. The bill also ignores the fact that Indigenous peoples have land rights that extend beyond reserve boundaries. This is also a principle established in UN DRIP and Canadian law. It is simply appalling that in a country as rich as ours, we can't even uphold the basic right of clean water to First Nations. That the government has removed the right to safe and clean drinking water in this legislation is yet another slap in the face to people like Chrissy and members of Grassy Narrows, among so many others who have waited decades for their basic rights to be realized. When it comes to dismantling environmental regulations in the name of major projects, a process that undermines Indigenous rights, the government has no trouble moving at lightning-fast speed. When it comes to delivering on this government's own 2015 promise of clean drinking water for First Nations, Métis, and Inuit communities, the government is stuck in neutral. It's a disgrace, and it is an ongoing crime against communities. I believe that Canadians don't want a society based on endless profit at the cost of human health, safety, and human rights. I believe that Canadians believe in true consent and mutual respect between nations. Canadians want to continue to walk the path of reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. Grassy Narrows First Nation has been in this fight for over half a century. Representatives like Chrissy have traveled a journey of nearly 2,000 kilometers, almost 22 hours on the road, to show Prime Minister Carney that they are more than ready to outlast him in this fight. Les néo-démocrates resteront toujours aux côtés de Grassy Narrows et exigeront que le gouvernement rende justice. Chaque jour qui s'écoule sans que rien ne soit fait est une tache noire dans notre histoire. I am proud, as NDP leader, to stand as my father did, shoulder to shoulder with the people of Grassy Narrows. This is part of the legacy that I have inherited, work that has passed from generation to generation. But it's enough now. We need justice for Grassy Narrows in our lifetime. So I want to make a direct appeal to the conscience of this government and this Prime Minister. Grassy Narrows is a proud community of endless resolve and perpetual spirit. They can outlast you. But why should they have to? Do the right thing. First of all, Mr. Prime Minister, I think you know you owe Chrissy an apology. It's a bare minimum gesture of decency and respect. But beyond that, in this time, when all of Canada is up for doing big things, do some nation-to-nation building. Clean up the mercury. Heal the people and the land. Merci tout le monde. Thank you.
I now would like to call to the stage Chief Sherry Ackabee, Chief of Grassy Narrows.
Good morning. I'm Sherry Ackabee from Grassy Narrows. I have all my band members here, some of them, and also we've gathered some pictures of our loved ones we've lost, and as you could see, they're young, and it shouldn't be that way. Our children are too young. When Carney mentioned that in the saying I could outlast her, it touched me really bad because I thought to myself, look at all these children, all these people in the pictures. They came to my mind. My thinking was, I wish they could live to be old as well. Live to have their own children, some of them, and, to see their own grandchildren. But they're gone too soon because of the poisoning. The poisoning is affecting our people a lot worse today. Like it's going generation to generation. There's kidney problems, there's liver problems. And it's going to babies as well. That's too young. And for, the mill to be running still in Dryden, that's dumping sulfates in the water, and it's coming down to us and Wabsamu. Now, these pictures, these are basically from Grassy. We still have Wabsamu. There's probably more people there too, a lot more pictures, children. I wish the government would realize they're poisoning our people, both communities. Children are not having a chance to live their life to the fullest. Some of them are not even living to see their own family. All the pain they go through, all the trauma they go through, it's not good. We brought pictures too for people to see because we're in the community. We see what goes on. We've tried to ask Carney to come to Grassy. He hasn't even come. So we come here and we bring our people, our loved ones, pictures. It would be nice to have them here with us in person. But they come here in spirit with us. I don't like the way they compensate our people. It should have actually came back right from the day of the spill. But no, it didn't. Our people Our people, their precious lives, they didn't think of that. They owe us a lot. Because, life is precious. My family, they lost a lot as well, my sisters, their children. It's hard being in the community and watching all the passings of our people going. Then for the nuclear waste, that's going to be another disaster. We're poisoned enough already as it is. Our people need to be respected and listened to and not pushed around and person to person. The government should shut down the mill because it's taking our children. We've been through enough. We need justice for our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief Ackabee. I'd now like to call up Deputy Chief Bear Kopanas from Wabsimang. Oh, Grassy Narrows. Sorry. I'm going to do that again. Deputy Chief Bear Kopanas from Grassy Narrows.
Good morning, Bonjour. My name is Bear Kopanas. I'm also like to go by counselor, and I have a few words. I want to say, shut down the mill, clean the river, compensate the people. Canada apologize. Even Doug Ford, we always come to Toronto, Ottawa. We're in person. You guys can't even come out to meet us and apologize. And I bet you even Trudeau and Katy Perry would apologize, but that's the way it goes. But compensate the people and clean the river, miigwech.
I'd now like to call up Clayton Cameron, spokesperson for Wabsimang.
Let me just Good morning, Bonjour. Nakamago na Dijnakas, Atiktotem, Wabsimang Donji. Hi, my name is Clayton Cameron. I'm from Wabsimang Independent Nation. I was born in a reality that many Canadians will never experience. Some of my early memories are of water, not clean water that came easily from the tap, without a second thought, but water that was always carried questions, concerns, and uncertainty. As a child, I remember a lot of stuff involving water. I carried buckets of water from the river so we could cook, wash clothes, and get through the day. We swam in the water, we played in the water, and we lived around the water. Looking back now, this is heartbreaking to realize that we were swimming in a river system contaminated by mercury. Today, many people in our community still rely on bottled water and water jugs every single day. Something as simple as cooking, brushing your teeth, taking your medication, and drinking water from a glass that requires a little extra work every day. The mercury contamination caused by Dryden pulp mill, paper mill, did not just poison the river, it poisoned our way of life. Families earning a living, commercial fishing, guiding. When the contamination began, The entire community has lost their livelihood. People lost their jobs. People lost hope. People lost part of their identity. What hurts the most is watching the people you love suffer. You watch members struggle with health issues. You watch the community members become sick. You watch people pass away far too young. Despite everything, our people are still here. We're still fighting and we're still speaking out. And we're trying to protect the land and the water. We're still raising our children and honoring our elders. Our community deserves more than survival. We deserve clean water. We deserve good health. We deserve justice. We deserve accountability. And most importantly, we deserve a future where our children do not have to carry the same burdens of our parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents carried before them. The mercury contamination of our water is not just an environmental disaster. It's a human story. And this story is my community, it's my family, and that Canada must never forget. Miigwech. There's also something I wanted to talk to you about. There are many stories from my community, Wapsamong, that are continuing to affect. Every family has their own experience and struggles. I'd like to share a story from a community member, Deanna Carpenter, and what happened. This is her words. If I could show you the government of Canada, the true disaster reality of what mercury and the other unknown chemicals do to the human body, I would start by telling the story of my auntie, Martha Carpenter. Martha was born in Kenora in 1976. Like all of our babies in Wapsamong, she came into this world seemingly healthy. But in our community, health is an illusion. The poison dumped in our river system by the Dryden Mill is embedded in our DNA, carried in the wombs of our women, and passed down from generation to generation. At just 47 years old, my auntie suffered a stroke, and it was the beginning of a horrific cycle. Despite treatment and continuing to suffer stroke after stroke, she fought through rehabilitation, lost mobility, and eventually began losing cognitive function. I watched her struggle through countless hospital visits, medical tests, and treatments. I watched our family become emotional, physically, and financially exhausted. Still, she refused to stop fighting. Her story is a reminder that mercury contamination is just not an environmental damage. It is about real people, real families, and real lives. The effects continue today, and many of us still live with the consequences. This is the reality of our community faces. And I just want a message out to the Canadians. Could you imagine drinking this and it was contaminated with mercury to survive, and the government telling you that it was safe to drink, and for years and years not knowing? Just imagine that for a second. Miigwech.
And our last speaker today will be Chrissy Isaacs from Grassy Narrows.
Ooh, water. Bonjour, anango kapmel na kwa na dish na kaz bishu tutem, asapish kuso agang nandunji. My name is Chrissy Isaacs, and I'm from Grassy Narrows. I traveled here with my community. I was invited by Leah Gazan to come and have this opportunity to share about my community, Grassy Narrows. I want to start off by saying that I was born at the peak of the mercury poisoning in my community, and I was one of the babies that was born with high amounts of mercury in my body. And so I want to explain to Canada and to like everybody out there that there's a lot of misunderstanding. You know, we get comments like, why don't you move? Stop eating the fish. Get over it. It happened a long time ago. Well, it happened over 60 years ago. It did happen a long time ago. And justice has never come to my people. Because today, our children are still being born with mercury poisoning. And in my family alone, it's 5 generations of people. My grandfather, he was a fisherman. He lived off the river. He worked as a fishing guide. He did commercial fishing. And when the mercury, when people started to come and test our people back then, he had one of the highest amounts of mercury in his body. That was my grandfather. My mother and my father both have mercury poisoning. And I have to watch them suffer with their symptoms. And then here's me. I was born with mercury. The way that happened was because the river was our way of life. It was our people's way of life. Our people were rich with the river when it was clean. Our families were provided for. And when mercury poisoning happened, the government took that away by saying, you can't sell your fish anymore. You can't have these fishing camps anymore, warning people you can't come here anymore. The river is poisoned. And then go around and say, it's okay, you guys can eat the fish. So in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, our people became very poor because our ways of life was taken away from us. And our people had no choice but to eat the fish. So that's why we call those years the peak of the poisoning, because our people had no choice but to eat the fish because our way of life was taken. And I want to keep saying that because I was born robbed of a good life. I was born terminally ill. That when you have mercury in your body as a baby, it's in your body for life. Nothing can take that away. So I was born, and Canada knows because they did the studies. Health Canada was taking the blood from our umbilical cords without our mothers knowing. So they knew all along that in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, all the children of Grassy Narrows and Wapsamung were being born with mercury in their blood system. And throughout the years, you know, when we're doing these independent studies, because Canada and Ontario refused to acknowledge that Grassy people were being poisoned, we did independent studies finding out all the effects of mercury. And throughout my life as a youth, growing up, we've lost so many people, so many, a lot of my peers that have taken their own lives because they did not know that mercury affects the brain. And how it affects the brain is it takes that chemical that you need to be happy. And I just seen an ad yesterday that dentists are warning people that if you have those feelings with the mercury, that's why you're extremely depressed. So you look at these young people, a lot of them took their lives. And not only that, a lot of these young people are leaving from liver cirrhosis, kidney diseases, heart diseases. Canada knows, and the province knows, that our people are dying. So to me, you know, when you look at that whole situation, that they know that mill is still poisoning our people, Canada is committing genocide on Grassy Narrows and White Dog and Wapsamung. They're committing genocide because they know and there's nothing being done. I just want to say, that when Mark Carney said that he can outlast me, well, I'm here. And I don't want him to apologize to me. I want him to apologize to my children and my grandchildren and to the people of Grassy Narrows and Wapsamung, because every day we watch them suffer. Every day I wake up and I have mercury poisoning in my body. I feel the effects of it. I watch my children suffer with their mental health issues because of mercury poisoning and how it physically affects them. And my grandchildren being born and having those new effects from the sulfates that are being put in the river. A majority of our children in Grassy Narrows and Wapsamung are being diagnosed with autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, speech impediments. So how could a high amount of number of children be born like that? We're proof. Mark Carney, you need to apologize to my people, and you need to clean the river, shut down that mill, and compensate our people, because our lives matter. We were robbed of a good life. In Grassy Narrows and Wapsamung, our lifespan is shorter than the rest of Canada, 50 to 60 years. I'm 46 years old, so give or take, I have 15 or 20 years left, according to the studies. So I want to see justice while I'm here. I want to know that when I leave, my great-grandchildren will at least have clean water. Miigwech.
Got to wrap.
I think we have no. So we don't have time for questions because the parade is coming through, but perhaps, pardon?
The next lobby?
But we can go to the next lobby if you have any questions.